Welcome back to Travails, everyone. Today we're going to be having another look at this 1950s two-stroke lawnmower and try to find out why it won't run properly. So in the last video we did manage to get her to run, but only by directly putting fuel mixture into the cylinder via the spark plug hole. So right now we're going to take off the carburetor. I'm going to remove this bolt here, the fuel line and the throttle slide, and we'll get it to the bench and have a look where the blockage might be. Okay, so let's start to take a look at the carburetor. There'll be nothing in the float bowl because I've already drained that off back into the tank because I don't want to make a mess of the bench here. And you've got the float bolt and the float itself. We know that this mechanism works, and we know it fills up via that little valve underneath there. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah, underneath there's a little valve there. Fuel comes in through this tap, goes down internally there and into there. When the float rises, then it lifts up. It lifts up that arm there and blocks it off. So quite simple, quite effective. And this little device here, where my finger is, all that does, that pushes down on the float to allow fuel in. We know that works as well. That's called the tickler. It's not a pump, as I've said before, but it just pushes that down and allows fuel to flow in through there. We know that works because when I tried it, fuel eventually overflowed and came out of here, which is the air intake. So we can spin that off as well. And in there you can see the choke, nice brass gate valve. In fact, all of these fittings on here are very high quality. This is, as I said before, this is a 50s mower, probably a design that might date back to the 40s or even 30s. So we've got some really good components on here. So we know that fuel was coming in here, it was coming down through here, getting into the float, and then was overflowing back out through here. So really, the only blockage could be somewhere in this intake column here. So what we need to do is get a metric spanner on here, spin that off, and see what we can find. Okay, so I have taken the grub screw out of there, which is what stops this tube rotating. Those flats there are not for the purpose of unscrewing this tube from the body of the carburetor. They are simply so that you can align it, so you can get the grub screw back in and line it up with the notch, which is there. And this, you remove this by pressing it through, which we'll do now with a soft mallet. There we go. And that is through. So that's the body of the carb isolated, and that is actually the float needle, which sits underneath there, so we can give that a good clean as well. And this is the component in question. It's simply a tube, brass tube, that goes into the float bowl and draws fuel up into the carb. Now you should be able to see daylight through it, and you can't. So that could well be the cause of all our problems, that this is blocked. And we can just confirm that with this piece of wire, which does not get through. So it gets as far as that hole and a tiny bit further. And at this end it goes that far in. So you can see where our blockage is. It's just about there. How far in on that side? Yeah, just about there. So what I'll do is I will work through this tube with a piece of wire and perhaps also a small drill, which I'll do very carefully, and see if we can't get out whatever's in here. I suspect it's going to be a piece of debris from that fuel tank, and once that's free, we might well be back in business. But I will work through this and bring you back. Something that's interesting here is that whilst you can't see through it, you can blow through it, but not as much as you should be able to. If you ever listen to this, if you can. You can hear that it can blow through it, but it's restricted, and that might explain why it doesn't run. But there was still fuel coming through, coming up and overflowing through the air intake after quite a long time, I do have to say. So that could explain what's going on here. Okay, so I've been working through this tube now with this piece of wire for a couple of minutes, sprayed a bit of WD-40 down there, and you can now see daylight through it. Hopefully I can get this to come up. There you go. You can see pinprick of daylight through it there, whereas before you couldn't. And the other thing is, if I blow down it now, you can hear a much more unrestricted airflow, as it were, like this. So yeah, I think that's worth a try at putting back together, which I will do now. Unfortunately, because it is the middle of December here, well, the end of December, last day of December, here in England, I won't be doing much in the way of lawn mowing today, but this will be fully restored and up and running for the next time I'm able to do that, which will be in the spring, and you will be there with me, guys. So I'll just put this back together, bring you back, and we'll move on to the next piece. Okay, that's one carburetor reassembled. Let's get it back on the machine and see if it runs any better this time. Okay, carburetor's back on, reassembled, fuel in the tank. Let's open up the line, see if it gets through, and see if we can start it and run it from the carb. Fuel line open, hold down the tickler, and I'm looking for fuel coming out the air intake. Just filling up the float bowl, hopefully, and it should come through. There it is. Right, choke on, starting handle. Go. Okay, so she's ticking over, but I haven't got any control from the throttle on the handlebars. So as you can see, there's nothing coming through there, but we can get a form of rudimentary throttle control using the choke. So the carburetor is working, it is responding to that, but I just need to find out why we're getting nothing off the throttle. What I suspect is that I need to adjust from that screw there which is effectively controlling the length of the throttle cable. So I'll do that, but actually while it's running I will just try and break the drum free using the clutch. Or see if it restarts actually. Okay, so that works. No, the garage is now full of smoke, but that's a very pleasing sign. So I don't know if you saw that, but I managed to break the drum free. I think that was probably just rust behind the blades, stopping the entire mechanism going. But a good bit of throttle and that broke free. So what I'll do now is I'll chase up the throttle cable, find out why we're not getting any response from that, and I'll also go and just get into all of these lubrication points here, because that is now free. I'll lubricate the chain there and everything else that needs it, and we'll bring you back in a minute. Okay, so I've lubricated as much as possible and had an adjustment of that screw at the top of the carburetor, which is on the end of the throttle cable. So let's see if we can get anything out of that throttle this time. And I've also chocked it up, chocked the back end up, so if we do manage to get it to work, we can set it running without going anywhere. Well, I think we'll chalk that one up as a win. So we got some throttle response. We managed to get it to tick over as well. And another pleasing thing is that when it's running under load, you can see there's far less smoke. So I think we've done some good work here. To be honest, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there and call it a day for now. Not just for this project, because we've done as much as I can at the moment, but also for this year and for this year on Test Travails. And I'd just like to say thank you very much to everyone who has watched, to the 2,000 people who have watched the previous video of this lawnmower in the last few days, and to the nearly 250 people who have subscribed in the past 7 months. It's been a very enjoyable time for me, and very much look forward to all of you joining me again next year in 2023. Happy New Year to everybody. Oh, go on then, as it's Christmas.